Hi, I'm Carla Schaefer, Auntie's Beads designer, and I will be demonstrating a flat spiral stitch. I'm going to go over the list of tools and supplies needed for this. I'm using a 4 and a 6 millimeter Swarovski crystal bicone. In the 4 millimeter, you will need 50 to 52 pieces. In the 6 millimeter, you will need 26 to 28 pieces. You will also need a small toggle, clasp, and I'm also going to be using about 5 grams of an 11/0 seed bead. We will be using fire line and a needle, so you can use a 10 or a 12 size needle, and also a pair of nipper tools or snips to cut our fire line. To begin with, you're going to need to cut 3 yards of the fire line. You want to work with as much fire line as possible so you don't have to tie in any threads. So once you've got your fire line cut with your nipper tool and threaded your needle, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on 2 core beads. Our core beads are going to be our 6 millimeter bicone. So I'm going to take the 6 millimeter bicones and I'm going to bring them down, and I'm going to leave about 10 inches, a 10-inch tail to work our clasp at the end of the bracelet. So I've got my 2 core beads threaded, and now I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads and the bicone, a 4 millimeter bicone, and 5 seed beads again. And what we're going to do is I'm going to bring it up from the bottom, bring my needle through those 2 core beads, and pull, and it makes this little arch or little flap on the side here. And then for what we're going to do for the other side is the exact same thing. So this is a very repetitive stitch, and it works up really quickly. So again, I'm going to add 5 seed beads, 1 4 millimeter bicone, and 5 more seed beads. And I'm going to again bring it up from the bottom through those 2 core beads, and then I'm going to move it to the side. So we're going to have the core beads flanked by these seed bead and 4 millimeter bicones. So for the next stitch, or the next layer, we're going to pick up 1 6 millimeter bicone, and what we're going to do is we're just going to work off of this bicone and the one I'm threading on, and this is all we're going to do for the whole amount of the bracelet, for the length of the bracelet. So I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads and a 4 millimeter and 5 more. Now I'm just doing a single row of this. The pattern that our designer Deb Leon found was for actually 3 strands, and using a 3 and a 4 millimeter bicone and a 15/0 seed bead. So I'm using a 6 millimeter and a 4 millimeter and an 11/0 seed bead. And next week I'll show you how to do this stitch in two rows. So again, I've got the flap on. I'm going to add another 5 seed beads, a 4 millimeter bicone, and another 5. And this, I had trouble trying to decide how many beads make up the length for a 7.5 inch bracelet. I think I've ended up using 28 of the 6 millimeter bicones. So but you can always take them off the end of the bracelet after because when you add your toggle, you're obviously going to add an inch to an inch and a half to the length. So again, keep it on the same side, because if you accidentally flip your work over, you will be able to tell that because these start to layer upon each other. So 5 seed beads, 4 millimeter bicone, 5 seed beads, and you do this the whole length of the bracelet. Again, you're just working off of the previous bicone and the one that you've added once you get your first 2 core beads established. And then I'll show you how to add the toggle to the end of the bracelet. Okay, now that I've the bracelet about 1.5 inches from the desired length, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add the toggle. And since I've made this bracelet almost 6 times now, I've figured out a better way to add the clasp. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead and bring it down to the work. And of course we're just using our free end or our tail, so we're coming right out of the seed bead work. So I've picked up one seed bead that I'm going to go back through when I go to tie off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 seed beads, half of the clasp, and another 3 seed beads. And then I'm going to go back through that first seed bead that we added, back through my bicone. Actually, I'm going to go back through 2 bicones. And I'm going to bring that up. So that what we've done is formed a loop of seed beads for the toggle here. And then what I want to do is I want to run my thread back through my work and bring it back up. So I'm going to work my way through the seed beads. So you just got to find where this layer right here. Just going to come up one side through the bicone, and what we're going to do is we're going to run our thread back through this loop at least twice, and then we're going to run it back down and half hitch knot. So all you want to do is just run this thread path back through just to reinforce that loop a couple of times, and then you'll have half of your clasp added on to your bracelet. So I'm just going to come back up through here, back through that first one we added, and you'll tighten it up as you go along, back through the loop. Okay, now that I've run the path back up both sides, back through the loop, and I'm just going to come out of this first bicone, and I'm going to half hitch knot. And again, when we half hitch knot, what we're doing is we're catching a thread somewhere in our beadwork. And sometimes that is difficult to grab a hold. And you're going to run your needle up underneath that thread until you create a loop. You're going to run your needle through the loop and then pull. And that's where we're created our knot. And I'm just going to bring it down through the rest of the work here and probably tie another knot. And then you'll be ready to do the other end of your bracelet. So I'm just going to half hitch another one here. And then I'm going to bring it through here, and then I'm just going to snip the thread. And then I did want to show you a variation that I did of this bracelet using then you would do the other end to complete the bracelet. But I also wanted to show you that you can also use a round bead. In this case I used a 6mm round pearl and a smoky topaz bicone. And I just wanted to show you the different ways that bracelet can turn out and look.